Hello, everyone, and welcome to
Hi.
Ksenia's channel, where we're discovering the wonders of the world.
Is it the first episode?
It is! And today we're going to hear a story of Eva or Julia, and she will share some of her magic tools, what helped her to get where she is today. And can you please introduce yourself and tell a bit about yourself, where you came from, and where you're today?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about this topic, how to make dreams come true and how to live a fulfilling life that's well rounded and well balanced, not being caught up in one angle. So thank you for creating the space for women like myself to share our message. My name is Yulia Bazilev. My Instagram is Eva Bloom. And I was born in Ukraine, raised in Belarus. I've lived most of my American life in San Francisco, where we're broadcasting from.
Yeah, welcome to San Francisco. We're here today, but we're global citizens.
I
We are
know.
from everywhere. We
I
everywhere.
know Ksenia is everywhere, so it's hard to catch her in one spot.
Let me ask you, how long have you been living in the United States?
15 years now.
15 years. And how old you were when you came to the United States?
I was underage. I was like 20 when I moved here. In
Wow.
pursuit of my dreams, I literally had no plan, and I knew that I wanted to live in the States. And you can't see, but we were overlooking this amazing Bay Bridge. And I literally had dreams about being on the Bay Bridge as some wonderful, like big structure, driving in the convertible.
Okay.
And I remember like 5 years later, I was doing that same thing, and I had a flashback to my dream back when I was 18.
No way. So,
Yeah.
While living, was it in Belarus?
Yeah, I was in Belarus.
How did you envision it? Was it in your mind? Did you make some vision, like board plan? How did you sense it from like back then? So let's say now you're in certain like your destination, the moment right now.
Yeah.
So if you remember when there was like younger version of Eva or Julia back then in Belarus, so how she was foreseeing it? Like how you're envisioning, how you felt it? Was it a dream? Was it like what? Can you explain and give us more context?
I had such warm feelings thinking about it. So thanks for that question, because it's like a fantastical experience. And I think something about me is being that fantastical person. Like I always imagine things, and I think in the terms that are not applicable to this world.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so a habit I had, and I think I still have it. Like I would write down my dreams on the New Year's Eve
Uh-huh.
on the piece of paper, and then you like burn it and you drink it with champagne. That's one way to do it. The other way was to like really immerse yourself and like write every single emotion and experience that you have, how you live in that new moment of your new reality. And so that's when I captured that moment of driving in the convertible on the Bay Bridge.
Wow. So how that original idea even came to your mind? Was it through movies, maybe songs? Someone told you about America? Where does this American dream even came from?
Yeah, good question. I grew up watching American movies, the green signs, like this go to highway, this street number, XYZ. I love Britney Spears. So I grew up on American pop culture. My mom bought me CD-ROMs, like Britney Spears concerts and things like that. So I always wanted to live abroad. I did not know where. When I started going to school, to college in Belarus, I studied a very competitive major, international relations. I always wanted to learn foreign languages.
Wow.
I studied English and Spanish and then Chinese at some point.
Chinese?
And all of that was kind of in pursuit of that dream and idea of living abroad. And that abroad happened to be the United States.
Interesting. As you were sharing your story, I was born in 1993 in a small village in Slavyanka in the middle of nowhere. It's the eastern part of Russia next to Vladivostok.
Wow.
And I do remember listening to Britney Spears. Yeah.
There you go.
And watching what was the movie of the tomboy kind of girl who was wearing the hat. Do you remember her name? Like Orero or something.
Nice.
I agree with you. There was a huge influence of American culture to Slavic countries, especially post USSR. It seems like a lot of girls who just picked it up from movie stories and being sort of dreamers became in pursuit to it. Interesting. I, from my side, I've seen and listened the songs, but in my mind, I never had this American dream, like where.
Really? How'd you end up here?
Yeah, we'll talk about it
Okay.
later. Yes, I want this time to be for you. So since like at this young age, you already saw your vector where you are getting, and like you didn't know how you're getting there, but at least you had this vision where you want to be at certain point of time.
I like that you say vector because vector means energy in a certain direction, and it's a moving energy.
Right.
And that's a big difference between having a goal or just doing a lot of things randomly with a lot of energy. So I really like your philosophy on that. That's a good way to put it, vector.
And so once it's been formed, and let me know, are you coming from like humble background, or you have wealthy family? What was the region where you're coming from?
We grew up poor. I mean, most of people in Soviet Union were, same kind of level of wealth because it's communist country. Some have more than others. We had less than others. And my parents, for example, haven't traveled much abroad. So the idea of being abroad is kind of novel.
100%, and I can relate. And through my personal observation living in the United States for around 12 years, comparing it to Russia, what I noticed that in Russia, there is almost no middle class. There is either people are in survival zone, really literally trying to just win the chat for the bread to bring it to the family, or really insanely like rich population. I'm not sure like 1% what percentage, but yeah, it's really rough and tough to live in Russia for the most people. And why personally I found America as land of opportunities, because here you don't need connections, you don't need anything. You can build yourself from the ground up, relying only on your like brain and your heart. And I truly believe today in my philosophy, when you treat other people like you want to be treated, like all doors are open for you. And then
100%. It's truly a land of opportunity. And, it's like comes from the history of first settlers, coming on the Mayflower. They had nothing set for them here. And I feel like it's just the land of outcasts and outlaws and immigrants that have to start from scratch. And you can feel that.
100%. So once you arrived to the United States, did you know English, or you need to learn from the scratch? And maybe further, you can bring some examples. When was it really hard, and you were about maybe to give up and just come back to where you started, and what helped you to persevere?
Good question. There's a difference between being an immigrant versus coming here on a vacation. It's a funny joke, but I 100% lived through that. It's my favorite joke. It's what's the difference between being an immigrant and coming somewhere on a vacation? Well, if you compare yourself to go to hell, you go to hell for a weekend and you have a lot of fun partying, drinking alcohol, and doing all the vices. But once you declare, "Oh, I love this place and I actually want to live here," they put you in the pan with the boiling water and make you actually like dig a hole in the ground and you could barely breathe. And that's exactly the difference between being a tourist and an immigrant. And I felt it. My first summer, I landed in Southern California. I lived, in the area with a bunch of mansions and swimming pools, mandarin trees, and overlooking Pacific Ocean. I was so impressed, and everyone was very wealthy and educated and so welcoming and nice. And I loved it. I was like, oh, I want to live here in the States. And so the following summer, I came as an immigrant with intention to um, build my life from scratch. And then I realized how hard it is and how much I'm actually giving up on. And I felt like I gave up on more than I was comfortable with.
Can you share more? So, what was particularly hard, and what did you give up with?
I thought, like everyone say, you speak really good English because you studied it from childhood. When I came here, I had no idea what to say, how to respond, all the American um, slang, the accents, and the way they use words very different from the British English that we studied in school. That was number one. Number two, not having the familiar infrastructure, your hospitals, your healthcare, and three, not having the safety network. I knew that my parents are not there to support me anymore. They stopped talking to me. They're quite upset that I left.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and so I got sick, and three, not having the safety network. I knew that my parents are not there to support me anymore. They stopped talking to me. They're quite upset that I left.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and so I got sick, and I didn't know what doctor to go to. The ones I called were so expensive. Didn't have health insurance, and all of that is free in Belarus. And my parents also like wouldn't pick up the call, so it was really hard. I remember that moment today.
Now you guys know why Slavic women sometimes so tough. We went through ice and fire, and we found out the way how to thrive through those environments.
Yeah, and when you move to a new country, you literally don't know anybody. Like I had no place to stay. I had to figure it out on my own. I had no job. And I had to learn to speak the American English. And,
Right.
socially it was hard to adopt because the mentality is very different.
100%. And what was your tool, or maybe some mental trick that helped you to battle this what certain short moment of darkness in your life when you were so close to give up and it was so hard? What was your light to persevere and keep making this baby step forward to where you are today?
I want to say I had a mental trick, but I was really struggling. It was really hard.
Okay, what is that?
I just suffered. Like, I just knew I couldn't stop. I think one thing that really helped me is the fact that there's no way back.
Girl, you're like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he wrote the book about just like point A or something. Masters, there is if you want to achieve something, there's no point B. Okay.
I think that's a real mental trick. Because I've been thinking 15 years later how to replicate that resilience and that resourcefulness in my own life to get to the next level. And I was like, well, everything I start, I'm like, but I can go back to this and this. There's a certain level of comfort,
Right.
but there's literally no way back,
Interesting.
And that really helped me just make step forward every day.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. And I love hearing that was a tool for you not even having plan B. Because in my story, actually, what helped me to have plan B.
Oh,
because,
really?
Yes, I always, in that created a safety zone for me to know that the worst case scenario, I can always come back to where I started. The doors all open. But I guess my internal driver of not giving up like
Wow.
helped me to push and continue moving forward.
Yeah, being an executive coach, I learned a lot about human psychology and how people can unlock their potential to get to that next level to live through their vision. And the biggest factor between a success and failure is like really understand what your motivating factors are. What drives you? Like, what is it that makes you wake up next day and not give up on that goal?
Julia, you're like a Pandora box, like of treasures. We probably don't have enough time to unbox all of them. We need to have enough like episodes and series of discovering it. And to add a little bit more on how we met with Julia, I believe we met at Berkeley for the first time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we
You studied computer science in Berkeley. Very impressive.
I'm not sure if I ended up there. It was like the wonder too. One of those. Julia, she pursued high school and she graduated successfully. She was the star of the class. And I'm not sure what you did exactly. Right after Haas, did you go to Google right away or did you do anything between?
Yeah, so I started undergrad program at Haas at UC Berkeley, and from there it's kind of a written path. You go into consulting, investment banking, or
Investment
accounting.
banking?
I went to consulting. That was my path.
It's tough.
It's tough to get into consulting. I was at Accenture, and I always had that dream to work at Google.
Yeah. And you have it today.
Yes.
I love it.
But it's funny because, like, I remember when felt like it's not achievable. It's not possible to get. And so the other trick I do when live in my fantastical ways is I put it on the whiteboard. What is it that I want? And I put Google on my whiteboard, and I felt like it's going to be possible to get to. But I was like, whatever. It'll just be there, and I'll stare at it. And then it was so rewarding to look back. When I was already there, it's like, oh, wow, I really achieved it. And I just remember how hard it was at the time. Yeah, but Accenture was my jumping board for that.
Wow. And I'm curious, as you moved to the United States, and there is belief or natural drive from Slavic women to be in long-term loving relationship, and knowing your stories that you came with nothing to United States, I guess what helped you to make that path for yourself, such as focus on yourself first to build some fundament to keep growing instead of being I know, drawn to just pursue a relationship right away and be 100% committed. By the way, there is no wrong or right answer. Just like what was your past? Like why did you pursue choosing yourself and start building yourself before you got to where you're today? And Julia, she's expecting baby soon. In 3 days. In 3 days?
Yeah.
Oh my God. 3 days. Wow.
It's a memory for 3 now. This point. It's been an interesting journey for me. It's been quite transformational because growing up in Belarus, we're kind of taught to be women in a traditional sense. It's a society with traditional values. Right. So being a mother, being a wife, right, was a written path for me. I wanted to study business and I wanted to be in business. Mm-hmm. When I was in school in Belarus, I would share that ambition with my friends. And you know what I heard people saying? Oh, MBA and business school is only for men.
So you keep hearing that as a message.
And, I keep hearing all the blonde jokes that I could ever imagine. And so that really, it was really annoying. And, it got to me and, made me think, like, I actually really want to do this.
I will prove them that they can different.
Yeah. I don't know if I was trying to prove them wrong. Oh. But I just felt like there's something else for me besides just being a woman and a mother and a wife.
I love it. And speaking of blonde, to be honest, one of my tricks that I use my blonde in advantage, such as people who don't study psychology don't know much, and it is true. So I'm for the last 8 years I've been a solution architect working in tech, and like what's like 90 something percent, and been driven by men. So a lot of time, and I also like play poker, and I notice the similarities when the blonde woman comes in, Slavic with some accent. And sometimes actually a bit silly. She's not being taken seriously, and she can be insanely smart and wise. So, guys, watch out from for the blondes. They're not always silly and stupid. Some of them are really sharp.
That's a great advice, by the way. Like, Focus on leveraging everything you have, every resource you have as an advantage.
Right on.
Towards your goal. So thinking that beauty and being blonde maybe is a disadvantage because people don't take you seriously is a limiting belief. You can reframe it and think, well, I'm going to use it as a resource to empower myself and fool everyone around me that, I'm not threatening. I'm maybe more approachable.
Right.
And then from there, you just have leverage. All of a sudden, people feel comfortable with you. They share more information. They want to socialize with you. And then you can continue pursuing your goals.
Absolutely. And it seems like from based on the story, what you shared, and as we are speaking about energies and some of the tools that helps to persevere and keep moving forward, uh, maybe I'm making an assumption. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But it seems like that for most Eastern European Slavic women, we already given a lot of masculine developed energy. So as a disclaimer, both females and male, we have a masculine and feminine energy going through us, like in Kundalini awakening, so on. Why I'm mentioning that women from that specific area might have developed more masculine traits, and masculine energy usually defined as perseverance, discipline, like mental abilities, being sharp and laser prepared, and being authority. It seems like to me it happens because the way how we were born in that area, we've never been princesses because like we needed to, I don't know, take care for our siblings, take care for our household since young age, go to first grade since like six age, like old. We never had the luxury to have babysitters like United States. The kids need to sit until 12 years old. Most of us will start working from 12, 13 years old or so. And it wasn't child labor. It was volunteer and of the children to provide for the families and so on. So since like that pass, I can see your tigerness from where it comes.
I'm wearing a tiger shirt.
Exactly. And your mom. So I want to know, so when did you start stepping into your feminine energy? And what was that journey?
Wow, to ask tough questions. 100% true. I've always been in my masculine energy until I started thinking about relationships and knowing that I wanted to be in a more traditional relationship, being a woman, being with a stronger partner that can take care of me, though I can take care of myself. That really made me think consciously about what is it like to be a woman. And I took a dating course.
Dating course.
What
was it?
Cost a lot of money, so I'm going to save you a lot of money.
Okay, give us advices. Give us advices.
So being in your feminine energy means being on the receiving end. Mm-hmm. It's being in a state of feeling.
Right.
It's like this ultimate present moment state where you adore and admire everything around you. You really stop to smell the flowers.
Let's smell the flowers. Let's get to know.
We're getting all excited.
Right.
Yes, they smell really good. And not making any decisions, but kind of like trusting the universe and your partner that they'll figure it out for you.
That's a lot of power in that. It seems like to me, in order to step into this receiving part, the women need to figure out how they're putting that guard down. Because at some point when the individual lives for too long in survival zone, especially women, which are biologically wired for safety net, going through survival mechanisms for too long, we automatically become as like warriors. Too much like to fire. Let's fight, which is not feminine.
Yeah,
it's really
go-getters.
Right, like sharks. It does work at corporate world, amazing, but it never works in relationship. So what helps you to kind of tune down this like fire to nourish your body, get to this like loving, giving power, which feminine energy is?
It's a 3-step approach, I'd say.
I like it. We have scientific approach here. 3 steps. Go.
Number one, you actually have to be self-aware and accept the fact that you are being a man in a women's skirt. So that's the first step. It's the hardest step. Knowing that that's the issue that you have. It's kind of half the path to solving that issue.
Do you think that is the necessary right interpretation as a man in a skirt, or how we can put it in different words?
Well, you've been a go-getter.
Go-getter. Let's do a go-getter. Sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very seductive word. Everyone wants to be a go-getter, ambitious, goal-driven.
Yeah.
Your goal is to have a relationship. It's counterintuitive.
It is. Like go and getter and relationship never work out. And it seems like that's why there's a lot of amazing, strong, successful from financial perspective women as single, because it's too guarded. And there is it's separate topic. Speaking of a man, we'll come back to it. But everything starts from women. We are the queens of the world. Because have you heard this phrase? I'm not sure the origin of it, but it says that women is the one who educates the next generation. So if women are not educated, we're just going down the spiral to black hole. The world will not survive. So it's really important for women to be educated and go get being sharps, because from that mentality, kind of being a bull sometimes to persevere goals and put the goals become like financial independence. Sometimes it's really important. To know whether you was meant today or not, you can provide for children that you may have. So it's really important. And okay, we figure out tigress. So what you become aware of that you have that really strong, powerful energy. So what helped you to tune it, not tune it down, maybe step into more
my feminine?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, 3-step approach. One is like I became aware that I'm being very goal oriented, very driven, which is not useful for building a relationship as a traditional relationship.
Right.
2 is just knowing what tools are there to be feminine. What is it like to be feminine? And 3 is integrating them and really leading them, which is the hardest part.
What was the hardest part? Because you want to combat, you want to be more controlling of the relationship. What was that?
Yeah, it's like, coming here as an immigrant, building your life from scratch and doing this for whatever number of years, for a decade, it's really ingrained in me as my habit and I'm rewarded for it. And so giving up on all that, first time kind of promise, just because I paid a dating coach,
Right.
thousands of dollars, this is going to help me build my relationship. It's very counterintuitive.
Here, so it seems like you agree that everything starts from within.
It starts from within, yeah. And so the integration of like, what is it like to be in your feminine? It starts from what you just did. It's very powerful intervention. You like, let's smell the flower.
Oh.
Let's be present.
Yes.
Like this is being present too. And just kind of taking a breath, a deep breath.
This is Arrow of Aquarius, by the way. The love in the air.
Yeah, it's that. It's just like, can you leave it? Can you allow yourself to experience that feminine energy in the moment when you're interacting with a man?
Yeah. To add to that, in my opinion, I strongly believe that doesn't matter how much complete you are, or female or male, the individual is, the man cannot be truly masculine without woman, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Completely strong self-dependent, self-made, whatever, beautiful, feminine woman cannot be fully feminine without man in her life. So we all complement each other, it's yin and yang, and so on. Like,
yes, and so you can, it's not hard to find a partner if you think about it.
Yeah.
But being in your masculine energy, you'll find more feminine partner. But your idea of an ideal partner, maybe for Slavic women, it's more prevalent that you want somebody in their masculine energy, so you can be in your feminine.
Yes.
But you're just not able to achieve that because you used to be a go-getter.
Because you're always in this fighting position. You're you controlling, those type of women can have a tendency to control and dispower the man, just hit us.
And then we complain. We're like, well, I don't like my boyfriend because he's not showing the initiative.
Right.
Well, that's because you've taken away the space from him too.
I can't agree more. I hear you. And you mentioned that you started coaching. She also have a podcast. Can you share some of the tools that are working for you, and that's some magic.
Yeah, being trained as an executive coach really helped me put together some practices and frameworks to help unlock human potential, not only within myself, but within others. And so I find it very rewarding then to share and pass back the goodness that I was able to experience through my own transformation.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so I would say the biggest takeaway from being an executive coach is the understanding that everyone has so much potential, has so many resources, so many tools within, and such unique experiences and perspective that no single blueprint can work for everyone. So it all starts from within, really understanding yourself, being self-aware, same three-step approach.
Right.
Understanding what my limiting beliefs are. What is my goal? What are my motivations are to go towards that goal? Then knowing what do I do to overcome those limiting beliefs? What do I do to get towards that goal? And then the last step is really practicing it and keeping yourself accountable, practicing it. And most of it, the the first step is really 80% of the work. And the rest is just 20%. But we usually think the opposite. When we hire a coach, we think, well, she's just going to tell me what to do. I'm going to have my little to-do list and then I'm going to act on it, right? It's the step, the 2 and the 3. And yes, I'll have the deadlines. I'll do it. But until you really understand yourself, what is on the way? What is keeping your mind stacked? That, you've wanted to be an entrepreneur for the last 5 years, but you really didn't progress towards that goal. Really understanding that and doing that self-reflection and self-work is the biggest part of realizing your own potential.
Да, я сейчас проверю, что он записывает. Посмотри, сколько время. Now, Julia, I have a tricky question for you. Are you ready? It might be tough one. So, what do you think takes to become aware?
So, to be aware of your limiting beliefs is a lot of work. And it comes from hitting the wall, really hitting the wall. Yeah, you're like, I can't go anywhere else. I've tried so many different ways and I can't achieve my goal. And just sitting there and struggling with it for a while. And then that means that you have a lot of experiences ahead of that. You have a lot of bruises. You've stumbled a lot. And you've tried every corner, but never made progress for your new goal, right? And so then you sit with it and think about what is really in the way. And it requires vulnerability, right? It's really giving up on that understanding of what you had before is the right path.
Let me ask you, was it hard for you to become vulnerable? Because just Hearing your story and remembering mine, it took me many years to allow myself to be vulnerable and ask for help when I needed. It was not intuitive or natural for me. Yeah. Was it like, is it similar story for you?
It's really hard because it's counterintuitive. It's, what you've done worked really well for your purposes and it stopped working. So you just kind of have to accept the failure. So I think that's what it is. You just accept the failure and you kind of become a student there.
It must be really tough to go through that feeling as being failure, especially being doing like, especially reaching some point as, let's say, already being immigrant, like, moving to a new country, assuming like already finding the first job and hitting another wall and being go-getter. It must be really self-destroying kind of.
It's impossible.
Tearing. Like it feels like it was it. Can you? So if you would compare it to some animal in a cage, which animal would you pick? Just like tearing apart, feeling
It's like saying tiger, but not in a cage. Or it's just being exhausted.
Exhausted.
Yeah, it's a tough experience. Okay. And that's why it takes so much work. 80% of the work is done there with the, doing that self-reflection and giving yourself space to see the other options.
Right.
There's not one path. There could be, like they call them, non-dual like vectors, right? Like it's other vectors, other ways of going after your goal that you just don't know yet.
You yet to figure it out and find out. I agree with you. For me, one of the powerful tools being introspection. When reality didn't make sense for me. Why it didn't make sense? Because it didn't felt fulfilled or joyful from within. Instead of going after something else and search something from external world, I was digging down, like, let's decouple things. Where is that void is coming from? So self-awareness, introspection is a tool.
Yeah, and just killing your ego.
Oh, cool.
It's the death of the ego, right? It's like, I'm right. I'm good. I'm great. I'm amazing. What I know is like, it's kind of counterintuitive, but you just kind of kill that part of yourself.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. The vulnerability is profound way to be and to live and be from the moment now. And it takes a lot of actual courage, and I believe for both women and male to be authentically vulnerable. And I think if you meet anyone around you who are authentically vulnerable, you can assume that person is insanely strong with a mind and being and having authority in their heart. Because otherwise, it takes a lot for individual to be truly vulnerable. Because a lot of people, they're so much ego driven. When the person is ego driven, there's no vulnerability. There is so much of the opposite power, such as being destroyer, being controller, and all the range of like those type of feelings on the line.
100%. And vulnerability is like one of the best qualities that the leader could have. There are Harvard Business Review articles written about it that, you can be goal oriented, you can have a big vision, you can move fast, and you can be compassionate. All those are leadership qualities, but the hardest quality of them all that makes the greatest leader is vulnerability. And what is vulnerability? It's the acceptance that you may not be right, which is where your ego dies and, you kind of move it aside.
Yeah, it's the hardest one to accept that you're wrong. Like, really I am wrong. Accept like your own mirror that I fucked things up. It was my mistakes. That is the hardest to accept and live with that. And then, like, rework it such that get your power back and make the change as you like I live my life. So
yeah, because we think like, what is vulnerability? It's like, well, it's what's close to my heart, close to my chest, and sharing it out there.
yeah,
And is intimacy vulnerability? Is a form of physical intimacy, but the hardest things to share are accepting that you're not right,
yeah.
accepting your own failures.
So it's fine to make mistakes, be messy, be playful, as long as you realize it at some point. Um, Maybe become more aware and step into the power to change something in your life. And it's okay to have like hundreds mistakes, millions. I'm not saying like, believe me, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but my always choice is being okay. I accept that I wasn't right, but I also have the right to make a difference. And from the moment now, um, I'm making those differences, and that's how eventually I believe you create your own reality, your wonderland, being the dreamer and creator of your life, being your own champion and leader, because you can, right? What do you think?
100%. Anything's possible.
Okay, so in the last topic, your motherhood. So that is the next level.
The big elephant in the room.
Okay, no, the big flower in the room.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you share? So was it that was planned or it just happened like as a magic, and how you today is such a beautiful gorgeous goddess, like overachiever, believer, dreamer, and having so many hobbies now in your new role as a mother, which is completely new to you. So is it scary for you? Is it exciting for you? Can you share those emotions?
I will share something controversial.
Okay, let's do it.
It's like the biggest thing most women want,
Uh-huh.
but it's the hardest journey to be a mom.
Ah.
Especially as you grow older and you've like lived your life selfishly, enjoying everything that you can possibly and have all the time in the world for yourself. Like all of a sudden now you have to take care of somebody else. And it's a very selfless experience.
So you keep working on your ego. You're just like really destroying,
Very distressing. Yeah. It's something I've dreamt about. We've been trying to manifest for a long time, but I wouldn't be able to do it without my partner. I feel like that's where the beauty of having two souls come together and have that synergy effect come in full play. I thought I was like a great manifester, but that's something I couldn't without Luis. So he really helped me close the loop there.
Love it. And maybe can you share a couple words on so that masculine man is such a powerful woman. So how he contributes, how he can support you, how he supports and nourishing you in the time when you need it, like especially in this journey of motherhood.
He really gives me space to be what I need to be and to have full freedom to express myself, which is very rewarding. Um, and it's a rare quality. Most people want to control the other person and they want to change them. They want to adopt them to their needs and be whatever perfect picture they've imagined.
Right.
And he's not doing that. So that's really, really special. We tend to look after this superficial, materialistic qualities and features when we look for a partner. But, having somebody in whose presence you can be fully yourself, that's rare.
Okay, it's beautiful. Thank you, Julia, Eva, for such a beautiful time spent and sharing all your wisdom, lessons with the audience.
Thank
We'll
you
stay
for
contacted,
creating
yes,
the
and we'll
for us.
produce more content. Let's make this world beautiful.
Follow Xenia for her new episodes on how to make your dreams come true.
I see you. Yes, let's do it. Beautiful.